Linda, make sure I am appropriate.
Okay, that's a tall order, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're ready, right? Good morning, everybody, again. Okay, so this is, obviously we miss you and you know that, and Ms. Dwyer's been manning my office and she's rearranged the office, she moved the couch, but we're waiting. I guess some of you are coming back next week and some of you are not. It's going to be a little weird and a little different, but we're going to get through it. And the goal is June 21, you're done. Okay? I have the same thing for me too. That is my motto for the year. I am done in 21. So I'm going to graduate with you all. So let's go on. I hope we move forward. We're going to talk about a lot of things in the next 45 minutes. And I know you guys are in a state of dilemma in many of the things we're doing. I know that you're stressed. I know that you're worried about the College Board and the ACT. I know there's deadlines looming. I know it's really easy to procrastinate right now. I know you're worried about things being test optional. I know you've got big decisions to make besides where to apply, then eventually where am I going to accept? Financial aid is looming for some of you. The how to do it when everything's changed, nothing's the same for you all. And the only thing I can tell you is that we are here to help you. Ms. Dwyer has been hired to work at the school. She's actually got a title. She's the CAP interventionist. And I'm doing the college advisement. Your counselors are there at home waiting to help you. Whoa, sorry, okay. And finally, Ms. Barrios left and there's a new counselor, Mr. Sanchez. Actually, when you look on your SCOIR account, you will see that he's going to be assigned to some of you. He'll be for graduation more than anything. Make sure everything's okay, but if there's a schedule change needed or whatever. Okay. Please do it. Thank you. This is for everybody, whether you're going home or staying in state, whether you're staying in state or going out of state, whether you're going to a private or a public school. Do you need a letter of recommendation or not? Do you need a transcript or not? Do you need a test score or not? Do you need financial aid or not? I mean, this is crazy, but it's all for you. So we're going to keep going. The tool you're going to use if you're going into our state school system is the SUS matrix, which is in your folder in SCOIR. It's also on Edmodo. It includes all the information you need to know about the state school system. And it also has information about anything about those schools. Also just adding in there, colleges are visiting virtually as we speak right now. Miami-Dade is going to be here to help you fill out the applications if you want to go there. But these are in your files in SCOIR. This Florida Gulf Coast, this Florida SUS is in your SCOIR and it's on Edmodo. And it looks like this. And don't all start peering real careful. But it's got all the state schools, how you can apply, what's the average GPA from last year, what's the average SAT and ACT from last year, application waivers, how to do it, how to report your GPA, what platform, deadlines, notifications, priority deadlines, anything you want to know about these schools. This was just updated last week. Okay? So just make sure you can see this, and it's a really good tool. Okay, let's talk about SCOIR, since that's the new words we're all using, and some of you know it pretty well by now. I know there's a couple of you in this room who are experts in it, but SCOIR is being used to many different reasons, but primarily for you, sending transcripts to most of the schools and letters of recommendation for schools that require it. You need to make a profile. I'm asking everybody to go on and put it on your phone, put it on your iPad, put it on your laptop, whatever you have, create the SCOIR account. It's an amazing tool. For the underclassmen, it's even going to be more amazing. It is a tool. It's a resume maker. It's a record keeper. It's good for your teacher and counselor rec. It's got an unbelievable interest survey. I know some of you have taken it. The survey is called U-Science. It takes you from the survey. It tells you what your interests are, what kind of majors that interest serves, and then it sends you to schools that have that major, and then it shows you the chances you have of getting into that college and maybe can you even afford it? So SCOIR's got these tools and toys that are great. It also has the ability for the counselor to give you a fee waiver if you deserve it. And remember, it's got the FERPA, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, which tells you that you can waive you have to waive your rights to read letters of recommendation. Okay? Common App and Coalition and other devices are applications. That is how you apply to the schools. When you are filling out the application for Common App, it's going to drive you crazy because it's never going to look complete. You're going to put your application in, you're going to submit, you're going to pay for your application, and it's going to show that your counselor's letter is not there and your teacher's letter is not there and your transcript is not there. But if you go on the SCOIR in a couple of weeks, it will show they have put those things in. So we're using 2 different platforms, actually 5 different platforms, because some of you are using Coalition, some of you are using SendU. But remember, SCOIR is the tool for the teacher recommendations. If a school is not a SCOIR school, the counselor will get a tool to email to a school that is not a SCOIR school. That's how it's being done. There are still exceptions we'll talk about in a second. This is how SCOIR looks for those of you who have not looked at it. Here is the FERPA that we're talking about here that you're going to use, that you sign. Make sure you waive your rights. You can ask you all different kinds of personal details. It's also a school that you can research over 900 colleges and find out their average scores, what's required, what's not, all their deadlines, all their dates. It also takes you on a tour of the school, shows you all their majors, and even has you talk to students on virtual conversations with them. Shows you how many students, and you know the retention rate's important. Shows you how many kids are graduating from there. Okay, back to SCOIR. Enough about SCOIR for right now. Maybe you'll have some questions at the end. Used for letters of rec and transcripts, right? As we spoke, okay? Just as we came on this today, your transcripts were uploaded to SCOIR, okay? Just now. Ms. Dwyer witnessed it. Okay. Deadline. Isn't that so? I know you all look so excited.
Dun, dun, dun.
Right. So now, decisions you have to make, how to apply. I just want to make sure I'm clear about early decision is like asking somebody to marry you, okay? And if they say yes, you're getting married. And the problem is you got to wait 4 months to find out, okay? It is binding. If you don't get an early decision, you're released from the early decision and it's done. You can only ED one school, all right? Early action is non-binding for most schools. There are certain schools that have early action restrictive, which means you can only apply early action restrictive, okay? That's different for each school. Early action restrictive, you can still apply to state schools, but you can't, and with ED you can too, but you cannot apply to other private schools. Then there's regular decision, which for some used to be a January 1st deadline, and now it's been moved to November 1st, and now even December 1st for some schools. But regular decision just varies per every college and university. And the nice part for you, SCOIR is going to keep track of that for you. They're changing the deadlines daily. You know you have deadlines coming up. November 1st is University of Florida. I hear rumor, very valid rumor, that it's going to be changed to December 1. The letter has not come out yet. Okay, so that's coming up. FSU has moved theirs to December 1. Don't forget about the SAR. The SSAR is how you report your grades to the school. Schools that require a SAR, you do not send transcripts. Florida is not the only school that has a SAR. Penn State has a SAR. UC schools have SARs. So there's other schools that just have you self-report the grades. You have to keep track of what school does this. Remember, FSU's priority deadline is December 1. If you don't apply by December 1, it's very hard to get in. And for scholarships, for FSU, it's March 1. FIU moved theirs to January 15th. But remember, no matter what I say today in this presentation, it could change tomorrow. Especially this year with so many things changing. We have to be so careful of keeping track. You guys are being put in a very adult situation in trying to keep track of all this. communication to how we're going to communicate to you. If you want to be reached, I know some of you don't want to be reached, but we want to reach you. I'm going to use Mr. Dwyer and I will use SCOIR, will be the primary. We'll still put things in Edmodo because it's easier to upload certain files. When we upload something into your file, it goes to a section in your SCOIR. I think the SUS is sitting there waiting for you there. I know your community service is waiting for you there. We'll also be using emails if we can. Remember about your emails and SCOIR and everything else and the schools. Guys, we're going back in technology. We're going back to email. That is the only way we can communicate to you about important things. If a school has a deadline, they're going to email you. If school's going to release notifications, they're going to email you. If we're going to talk to you, we're going to email you through SCOIR. So it's so important that you take a step back in technology and use your email. For the first time, even where I stopped using email a lot lately until this all happened, I have my email notifications on all the time. So when you guys send me an email, it flashes across my screen. Do I swipe left and let it go and forget about it? Most of the time, yes. No, I go back and look at it. But I know that I've got email waiting for me. You can't ignore the emails. And I can't talk about this more seriously, that if you are serious about going to college, if you are serious about getting a scholarship, you have to be serious about keeping track of your emails. Okay, applying for admission to college. Every school requires an application. Every school requires a way of reporting your grades, whether it's transcript or a SAR. Every school requires an application fee. Some waive it. Some get waived just for being a nice person, and some because you have free lunch or reduced lunch. SAT, ACT scores, the test optional questions comes up. I'm going to talk about it in the next couple slides. Letters of rec, if applicable. Essay personal statement, if applicable. I know Ms. Spivak has been working with you on your essays. I know that you're talking to people. I would say if you are one of those people who loves to correct essays and is very good and people want you to read their essay, don't read too many because it sort of poisons your own. You sort of get contaminated by reading other people's essays. Help your friends, but don't help everybody. Remember, when you get notifications from any school, screenshot it, save it, make sure. I always remember the story about the college that accepted 125 kids and the next day they took it back. Okay, so just always make a copy. If somebody says you got a scholarship coming, then make sure you make a copy of whatever they said. When you get your financial aid statements, print them or snapshot them. In fact, I'll be asking for those later on. Okay, November 1 is it's a flexible deadline. It used to be without the flexible, and now it's flexible. Applications should be in, even if you're taking the December test. Priority scholarships are usually at that time. January 1st deadlines for some. State schools are easier to get in if you apply early. I want to make sure I say this now, and I maybe on a slide later. If you are taking a test and you are applying to our state school system, normally you get the score and you wait and see if you want to send it. Folks, class of 21 does not have that privilege. You want that test score to get there as soon as possible. You do not have the luxury of looking at your test score and saying, yes, I'm going to send it, or no, I'm going to wait and take it again. There may not be it again. So especially that December test, immediately to the University of Florida, immediately to UCF or FIU. Your private schools, you have a little bit more flexibility, but the sooner the better they get it. If you tell the college board to send my scores directly to the school, they get it when you get it. If you wait, it's 3 more weeks. So it's an important piece, and I hope you guys remember that. I'll probably repeat it. Remember that letters of rec for certain schools, not for the Florida schools. Remember, they will ask for your counselor's name, but that's not a letter of rec. Most private or out-of-state schools want 2 letters from teachers and 1 report from the counselor with a full letter. Remember that a senior profile is necessary to get a letter. You ask the person if they'll write the letter. If they say yes, you say, where do I send the senior profile? There's 2 options you have. I prefer you not put it in the SCOIR. I'd rather have an email and have it. I like having a folder ready. The other counselors, you have to ask them how they want it. Remember that you must waive your rights on the FERPA. We will not write letters if you don't waive your rights. And I know I'm repeating myself. You need to make a list of colleges. Usually I would be saying this back about 3 weeks ago if we had opened normally. But remember that your list should include the most important thing, one safe school that you know you can get into, that you know you can afford, and if it's the only school you get accepted to, you won't be crying if that's where you go. You need one of those. And in these times, I may even say two, I would put one locally, because we never know what's going to be next year. So one safe school. Good match schools are ones that you should be admitted to, but remember that some of them only accept 30 to 40%. So when you're in the mid-range and you're in the SAT scores, you should get in. But there's always kids who don't. And reach schools are ones with low admission rates, okay, which you're always at risk. It's always a reach. I include University of Florida in there as a reach school because it's so easy to mess things up with Florida. And if you have a high score and you blow off the application, you won't get in. And if you have an average score and you really kill the application, they will accept you. Okay, so and then finally, when you're making that list, make sure you can afford to go where you want to go. There is a net price calculator on every school that if you put all the information in, it will show you approximately how much that school should cost you. Every school has a net price calculator within 5 clicks of their admission page. I'm going back to our state schools now, okay? Our state schools do not look at your GPA that we report. Our state schools look at your core classes. That's English, math, social studies, science, foreign language, and any academic electives, marine science, anatomy, all the AP classes. It does not include classes like journalism. It does not include classes like dance or PE, but that goes in another section of the application. They only give you half a point for an honors class and 1 point for an AP class. Okay, that is how 11 out of the 12 state schools look at your GPA. Also, Bright Futures looks at you that way. So, I'm sorry, I went ahead. So, core classes are super important, and remember that it's half. So when you see your GPA on the screen for University of Florida, Florida State, it will be less than your weighted and more than your unweighted. UF applications. Okay, give me a second. Make sure all your questions are answered before you apply. Make sure you attend at least one virtual session. They give you little hints at these things. Know whether or not you're going to apply to honors or innovation or PACE, summer or fall. When you finish the common application, it takes you to the Florida section. That's where you click honors or innovation, and it leads you to other essays. When you're doing the common application and you go into the Florida application on the side, it's a supplemental essay. There are 5 or 6 questions. Remember, that is like an interview with the reader. There's a YouTube that I did with Mackenzie Farkas and Chloe Wilson that is on YouTube starting tonight that will go over the University of Florida application step by step by step. We actually give you little hints. Previous years, I've done this in the auditorium with whoever was interested. This year, you get to watch it on YouTube. There's insight. They have insight from having applied. I have a little insight from having once been a reader years ago. I can tell you what's friendly to an application. So in that 45-minute video, I think we do a good job, not professional, but a good job of analyzing the Florida application. FSU is coming on October 9th virtually to visit. Here are some insights about FSU. If you have a lot of C's, you should explain them, okay? If you had a bad year in your essay, you should not use your Common App essay, and you should explain to them why you had C's in certain AP classes or honors classes. They're very strong. They like having smart, motivated kids. They're not big on smart, lazy. Okay? They also want to see your senior semester grades. If your grades are good, you're good. But they're one of the few state schools that you have to go on and report your mid-year grades. UCF may ask, but they don't always ask. You must meet their mark or they will not bend, okay? Also, if there's any first generation students in this room, your parents didn't graduate from college, Florida State has this amazing program called the CARE program. We fostered a kid once for her senior year after something, and when she went to Florida State, we made sure she went to the CARE program. It's for kids who don't have parents that went to college. It's a very passive group, but they really work well, and they're a little bit more liberal on their mission. So it's just one of those programs I push. It saved this girl's life. UCF, no matter what the situation is, if UCF's on your list, you should be applying today. UCF's an easy application. They will not deny you if your test scores are, you don't have test scores, they won't deny you. They'll just wait for the information. They accept anybody in the top 10% as long as you have a test score. And Spark self-report is what they're using. That's different than the SAR.
And they are coming on October 5th at 4 o'clock if you'd like to speak to their rep.
And
It's a
their
great-
rep that they're sending is the one that's going to be your liaison if there's an issue. FIU, apply early with or without a score. If you are thinking of FIU, go home tonight. It takes 30 minutes, apply to FIU. We forget that FIU is a top school in the state. We forget that it's got unbelievable programs because it's our neighborhood school. I want to tell you, it saved a lot of kids this last year who decided last minute to stay home and go to FIU. They've got scholarship deadlines, they've got raise.me, and they also will accept top 10% as long as there is a test. I'm going to explain that as long as there is a test in a minute. For these schools, it's so important, except for FSU and UF, that you apply as soon as possible. Don't wait for your test scores, especially this year. I would say this normally, but I can't tell you. It's so important that you put this application in. It's easier to get in the earlier you apply. Okay? I can't do justice without mentioning Miami-Dade Honors. To me, it's one of the best programs in the state. If you don't want to leave home for some reason, you want to stay home, and you can get in the school. It's a restrictive curriculum that allows you to graduate in 2 years with your AA. I believe it's 70% of their kids go out of state when they leave Miami-Dade Honors with scholarships and financial aid, and they get to go to schools all over the country. There's a program at Wolfson, there's a program at Kendall that most of our kids go to. In fact, if you go to the Wolfson one, they pay for your transportation. And I am presuming this is now post-COVID as I'm talking. University of Miami, it's on the common application. You should do the CSS profile for financial aid. Remember, if you're in the top of the class and you have a high SAT, ACT, you may qualify for one of their full ride scholarships. If you're in the next layer, there's still great money. Last year, they offered our students $4 million. Watch the financial aid video on my YouTube channel. And it's actually, if you watched it, I'm not gonna say it's entertaining, but the speaker from UM is sort of like, he looks like a weatherman. He's very, very good. He's super charming, and he gives out information on the CSS profile, the FAFSA, and Bright Futures. For those of you who want to stay home and just do Miami-Dade, I must say that, if you have a 3.0 weighted and you fill out a FAFSA, the financial aid form, American Dream is free tuition. I kept this on the PowerPoint only because under normal circumstances, we'd all be analyzing the SAT, ACT right now. So I figured I'd leave it on the slideshow to explain the difference between the two. And I just, I'm not going to talk about it. I just wanted to have it there for your ability to look at. Let's talk about this serious topic about whether or not to test and whether to test. There's really 4 different types of schools: test optional, test blind, test needed, test required. Test optional obviously is where they're all going. If you have a high score and you're above their mid-range that they're asking for, it's a good idea to send your scores. If you're below their mid-range and the lower part of their mid-range, you may want to go test optional. Test blind, there are a few schools who don't want any tests at all. They just want your grades and your essays. We don't have that. And now we have test needed. That is as of today, that is how our state schools are being qualified as. You must have a test in order to apply. What that means in my interpretation is they're going to lower the standard a little bit for SAT, ACT, because they know you didn't have the enormous amount of times to take it and remedy it. Because they're all pretty much saying, the big schools are saying December, some of the schools are saying March tests, but they are right now saying December. So please, you have to make that consideration, whether you're looking at the top schools in the country or any other school around. Our state schools are saying test needed. So you may, if you have great grades and your test scores may not be what you want them to be, apply. This is the year to make the application and take a chance. Okay, and if you're looking at one of the top schools in the country, but your SAT scores weren't strong enough, and you have great grades and great resume and a great essay, this is the time to go for it. That's how you see kids get into schools like University of Chicago, who's been test optional for 4 years now. Kids get in because their essays are great, their resume is great, their application is great. And then when they get an interview, it's even better. Reporting their scores. Remember that we do not report your scores. They're not on your transcripts, they're on SCOIR, but we don't report them. You must go to College Board or ACT and send them to the schools. When you, I think I said it before, when you take this test in the state schools, make sure you send them. If you did not use a free waiver, I want a fee or free. When you took the test, then you have to pay now, even if you qualify for free lunch. Free application waivers are in the SAT if you took it for free. You have to go to the Send Score section. If you need a fee waiver for the test coming up, Ms. Fair at the school is doing it this year, so that's the person to talk to. And once again, watch out for schools like FSU where you don't have to send the scores, you just self-report and tell them your scores. I just added this in today, so I'm making sure I say this. I wanted to say it to you guys. If you got caught doing something stupid freshman, sophomore year, do not report to the school that you had disciplinary action. If you were put in CSI because your skirt was too short or your boxers were hanging out, do not report that as a violation. Last year we had a student report an 8th grade fight, which he didn't even get suspended for, as a disciplinary action. It caused him more grief at FIU because he reported that. If you have a question mark about reporting a disciplinary action, you ask your counselor, you ask me, and we will tell you what to do. Okay, obviously if you got arrested, if you got caught with something that was really, really a bad decision, you may have to report it. But under most circumstances, we had about 10 kids report that, so please. So what makes an application complete? Submitted on time with the waivers, transcripts or the SAR submitted on time, SAT ordered and sent to the school, letters of rec, secondary school report, transcripts submitted on time. Here's a part that you all have a problem figuring out. It doesn't matter the order this goes on. There are very few schools that say your counselor letter is due on November 1st. They mostly say your application is due on November 1st. Some will say your scores are due on November 1st or January 1st. You can apply without some other things being complete. Don't be hesitant about applying unless something is required and required on that date. Some of your counselors will not get your letters done until right before the deadline, okay? Because they have so many to write. Some may go past the deadline. They will, most schools will not hold you accountable for your counselor or your teacher being late. Okay, is that pretty clear? Okay, I'm looking at you, Nicole, right now. Maya, are we clear? Thank you. Okay, I'm rotating the screen on the bottom to see who I'm talking to. Okay, so I took this little, I love this little bucket thing because I stole it from a couple other schools. So there's 3 types of scholarships: institutional, state, and private. The biggest bucket is the institutional scholarships. They're always the biggest, the most generous. You qualify early by testing early, setting those test scores to the colleges, they super score, applying early and meeting the institution's requirements for their merit-based scholars. University of Miami, University of North Carolina, Tulane, Vandy, FIU even does it. They all do it. Institutional scholarships are the way to get into schools. If you want to get out of town and go and get an institutional scholarship, for sure, you find a school that you like, that you are way above their SATs and their GPA, and you apply there. Okay? It's how you get in an institutional scholarship. Some of you will get it automatically. Some of you will have to apply for it. It's all part of the process. The next one is Florida Bright Futures, guaranteed scholarship, I hope. If the student meets all the requirements, you must apply prior to graduation. We're going to open up, it's open October 1st. I'm going to ask you to do it November 1st. I like waiting a little bit. Mrs. Spivak will give you a grade for doing it if you wait till November and then not be late. And you can use the money from Bright Futures up to 5 years. So if you take a gap year, you can. Between Bright Futures and FAFSA, they all open on October 20th on the YouTube channel, Senior Financial Aid Night. I know I'm repeating myself. Please wait for the English teachers. And remember this, if you are missing the score by a few points, you can test all the way till June. Be sure on your transcripts that you have 75 hours or 100 hours. If you need to turn in your community service now, I believe it's sitting in your file on SCOIR. If not, it's on Edmodo, or your counselor can send it to you. It's now a fillable form that you have to fill out and return to your counselor, and they will document your hours right away. If you need to add hours, just send a log of your hours. You already turned it in with the essay, just send a log to your counselors and they'll gladly input it for you. And this is just how Bright Futures works. And remember what I said about the core. The GPA is a 3.5 weighted half. So is the 3.0. These are the monies that were last year. I'm not telling you it's going to be like that this year. We don't know. Everything's so much in limbo. Lastly, for institutional scholarships, if you're looking at a school that is a raise.me, you can get up to $10,000, $15,000 in money to a lot of great schools for just documenting your grades and your community service and everything else like that. By the way, I said this to every other class, and I'll say it to you also, speaking about community service. If any of you would like to be nominated for Positive People in Pinecrest, and you're able to talk about yourself for 30 to 40 minutes with a person and be interviewed, please send me your name and some of the things you've done. And I love getting the Pinecrest Tribune to seeing all Palmetto students. Okay, I think we've been rocking about 15 out of the last 16. So please, if you're interested, let me know. Okay, but raise.me, great micro scholarships. It could pay for your dorm room. FAFSA is a financial aid. Notice that the first word is free. It's available October 1st of each year. Okay, if you're starting school in summer 2021, you're using last year's FAFSA with the using your 2018 taxes. If you are, let me be off by, okay. If you are applying for fall, you're going to use the 21-22, and that's going to be your 2019 taxes. Okay, so just be sure that your parents know they have to do a FAFSA. Both you and they need an FSA ID number, and then you file the FAFSA. Under normal circumstances, it's just an upload. And the last bucket are private scholarships are the ones that I post on my Edmodo or now on SCOIR that you'll hear about. There's bunches of them out there. It's a part-time job. It's a couple of minutes, it's 25, 45 minutes an hour every day. It's just looking for scholarships. There's also local organizations such as the Rotary, the Kiwanis Club, synagogues, churches. Watch out for Church's Chicken, UPS, Target, Burger King's a big one comes out. Coca-Cola is a huge one. Also, if your parents work for the school system and belong to the credit union, there'll be a scholarship offered from them pretty soon. Silver Knight is another thing. Silver Knight Scholarship is hopefully going to be going along, and you have the right connection by being in Ms. Spivak's class. It's a merit scholarship based on community service. She'll give you more information about that. And if you are interested in Silver Knight being one of Palmetto's nominees, you talk to Ms. Spivak. And your room number is what, Ms. Spivak, when we're back at school?
1203, and we are planning a meeting for October 6th. I will send information out to teachers and to my students and through the school website.
Okay. And then there are nomination scholarships. Nomination scholarships, Duke just finished theirs. WashU has theirs, which is a self-nomination. Miami, UNC, Davis, and so many other schools, Vanderbilt. Nomination scholarships, sometimes I'll put an email out or something and say, if anybody's interested in Stetson University, I have a nomination scholarship. And the first two kids who asked me about it are the 2A nominee. Also on your Common App is Kent Cook Scholarship, Silver Knight, and other scholarships with Kent Cook is on the Common App. Okay, I want, because I'm telling you not to use Common App as a device except for an application, I want to make sure I do tell you that it is a great search engine for questions about colleges. It also has some of the things that SCOIR has, plus it's got historical knowledge. It's got videos on how to do certain things. If you look deep enough, you'll find blogs about what different people have written. I wrote a blog for them once. It's called March Madness, and Ms. Spivak edited it. So, but just in general, it's a great program to use. But remember, we're not using it for anything but the application and a useful tool. So when this is online, you can go look at this. These are all the websites for different scholarships. When you see it on the PowerPoint, you'll be able to click them and go right to the scholarships. Okay, college fairs. God, I cannot. Wish I could tell you I'm going to miss the college fair, but I'm not. It was supposed to be October 8th. I'd be so stressed out if it was coming up. But now we're having virtual fairs and virtual visits. And if you go to virtualcollegefairs.org, you can register for different fairs. We went, Ms. Dwyer and I went to one that was just for counselors. When I went, no one was at Vanderbilt, no one was in New Chicago. I went in and had one-on-ones with the directors of admission. It could happen with you guys too. Not everybody's going to jump in and go to a virtual college fair. I will tell you that colleges, that Palmetto kids go in and talk at the virtual fairs and virtual interviews. They ask me how I prepare you all. And I tell them I don't. And they don't believe me. You guys are awesome at these fairs. You can go and make an impression and talk to hopefully one of the readers that's going to read your application. When I say this, I mean it to any school, not just the top schools in the country. Miami-Dade County is coming up with this program. When you see this link, normally you'll be able to click it and go to anything. On October 15th, you can listen to all the state university directors of admission. Also for the SAR HBCUs, that's October 22nd. And for the parents getting to learn how to do SCOIR, it's October 6th. There's a FAFSA webinar on the 1st. And I'm going to have a senior parent night, which I think I'm just going to pre-record and put it up. I may do it live on YouTube, but that will be announced probably the next week or so. I'll let parents know when that's doing. And that's going to be for the parents, not for you all. Did I say this before? Yes, letters of rec for certain schools, but not for Florida schools. They will ask for your counselor's name, but there's no letter of rec. Most private or out of schools want 2 letters from teachers and 1 report from a counselor. Senior profile necessary to get a letter, and you must waive your rights. All right, this one I'm going to take a little time with. How are transcripts being sent? It's confusing. If you think it's confusing for you, I'm trying to explain it. It's confusing. If you look at the 3rd bullet, UF, FSU, FAU, Gulf Coast, UNF, New College, and Florida Polytech, you do not send transcripts. University of South Florida, FIU, FAMU, you send transcripts. You go onto our school website and you request it for that school. Okay? Common App does not send transcripts, only the SCOIR. If it is not a SCOIR school, your counselor will email the transcript to that school. Okay? There's very, very few of them, but if there's a school, the only school that we may make exception for very, very few of them would be Georgetown, who has a separate application. Okay, but otherwise the transcripts are being sent through SCOIR. Do not go in and put requests for transcripts for schools that are being sent by your counselor. It's a duplicity you don't need to send. Okay? I hope that's clear. Class rank. I know some of you want to know what percentile you are. I know. Ms. Dwyer may know. No, it just came out. We just have it today. Starting tomorrow, Ms. Dwyer, how are we doing it?
These beautiful babies are going to message me on SCOIR, and like 55 already have. So y'all are on it. Message me on SCOIR, and when I get the list, I haven't gotten it yet. It exists, but I don't have it. I will respond to you. So message me on SCOIR.
Okay, what you need to know when you get this from Ms. Dwyer, because you have to report this, is what your weighted and your unweighted GPA is, what your percentile and decile is, okay? We use a 4.0, 6.0. You need to know the size of our class, which is very easy this year, largest class in years, 750. Your percentile will be there, and you have course histories on your portal so you can do your SAR, okay? We do this again in February, and that's the last time, and that's where you receive a percentile. And if there's a dream I have, that's where we get Summa and Magna, and you get the sashes, and you get your pretty white gowns, and hopefully we're going to walk across the stage. Okay, that's the goal. So we're done in 21 and walk out the right way. That's what I would love to see happen for you all. Okay, remember one other thing about, I'm sorry, one more thing about this when you're doing the SAR that I didn't know if I said this. If you had Miss Schlackman or Miss Person, your grades were B's and C's, and you had maybe 1A, and your final grade was a B, and then you passed the test and they bumped your grade. When you report that on a SAR, all you report is your final grade. They're going to ask for 2 semester grades. You put the final grade only. Okay? Please make sure you communicate with your counselor if you have a graduation issue. So I know a lot of you have not done your personal fitness and your fitness lifestyle. I know that some of you have issues. Things are so different right now, and it's easier to procrastinate than it is to communicate. Ask for help from your counselors, Ms. Dwyer, myself, Ms. Spivak, Spiegelman, whoever, teachers you trust. Some of us know everything that's going on. Actually, if any of us say we know everything that's going on, we're lying. Anybody who tells you they know how this process is going to work this year is not giving you 100% truth. None of us know how well it's going to work or what's going to happen. You guys have an interesting situation in front of you. I have faith it's all going to work out. I have faith that next year at this time, you're going to be living in a dormitory or up at college or commuting to college or doing whatever you want to do in life. Hopefully the things will be settled down a little bit. You have to have faith that it's going to happen. But please make sure that you communicate. Don't believe the misinformation that you hear from other people. Okay? I am here, and we are here to answer emails and talk to you on Zoom. If we're back in school, to talk to you at school. We just need to communicate. How do you communicate? You turn on those notifications again. GYYP6, College Sense to me on YouTube, Facebook for your parents, and that's the way we'll try to communicate. Oh, my favorite subject. Not TikTok, really. By the way, that TikTok clock on the bottom corner was what we call TikToks when I was 12. And it was the coolest thing in the world if you were 12, 13 years old to wear a watch in your pocket like that. But now TikTok has a whole new meaning. And it is a self-distractive behavior as well as YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, binge watching TV, and just wasting time. And I don't know about you, but over the past few months, I'm really good at wasting time. I have binge watched more than I've ever binge watched before. Guys, take whatever time you are on social media, this is my suggestion, cut it in half and do something productive. Write an essay, fill out a scholarship, beat a deadline, write an essay, study on Khan, do something different. This is a big year for you. And you have to decide at the end of the year, did I have more time watching TikTok and YouTube, or did I take more time on applying for scholarships? Okay, TikTok does not have a scholarship. Okay, YouTube does not give you any. What is it? What Snapchat? When you have a long period of time, you continue doing Snapchat. I know that was big last year. Is it still big?
Streaks.
Streaks. Thank you. Is that still big?
It's more so, I guess, obsolete.
Okay,
Many
I
people
thought so.
stopped
I
doing
thought so.
it,
That's why I
but
put the question mark on there. But you can't put that on a resume. You can't put that you've watched more Netflix shows than anybody else in the world, and you can't do a report on The Crown because you watched The Crown, the 6 seasons of The Crown. Okay? So please, social media. I'm not saying give it up. Just slow it down. Office hours, I wish I could tell you exactly how we're going to meet, what's going to happen. I really don't know. Right now, Ms. Dwyer's at the school helping. I'm home helping. Lunch, I've been having open Zoom hours. Every day I open up a different Zoom link because I can't, you guys are a little bit inconsistent with me. So if you want to talk with me, just like getting out of class normally to meet with me, I'm doing the same thing. If you need to get out of class, pick the class. Hopefully it's a class you can afford to miss 20, 30 minutes. And I have a Zoom room open every day that I am at my desk, either here or at school, because I don't know what school's going to, I don't know what the rules are going to be like when we go back. You know, are you allowed to come in the office? I don't know. Are you allowed to leave the class? I don't know. So I'm gonna maintain the idea of Zoom is gonna work for me for right now. And anybody who has met with me on Zoom, I think we're getting the job done for those of you who have met. I'm looking at 2 right now. What Nicole's saying yes. I know Sierra, I've talked to you. You're on my list. So it works and we communicated, right? Okay. And we'll get back, when we get back, we'll know better. And the rest of the PowerPoint is really just about community colleges. And if you have friends that, you know, you may have a friend that's not motivated to go to school. Miami-Dade has career in a year. I'd like to let you guys know this just so you know you can help your friends. So, I'm going to stop the recording here because I'm not going to put the questions on. And that's where I'll end it.